God granted us the opportunity to live during the days of the Virgin Mary's apparitions at her church in Zeitoun, the Church of the Virgin Mary in Zeitoun. And of course, we had been in service for many years before the Virgin's apparitions. But I recall the days of the Virgin's apparitions. At that time, we were in the final year of college. And I was in charge of a class in Sunday school. So afterwards, in front of the church, in front of the garage, I found some boys sitting on the pavement. I said to them, "Why don't you go and study?" They said, "We're waiting to see the Virgin when she appears." So I told them, "Go and study. Forget about this story." Of course, I didn't imagine that the Virgin could appear. The boys didn't listen because they had seen her before, so they stayed. Then 2 or 3 days later, I found the 4 boys had become 15 or 20, still young, but I noticed some older ones coming at night. A few more days and I realized the situation had escalated significantly. So many people started coming, a lot of people. We began to say, no, there's something to this. Since many people have started coming, these boys must be right. We started coming at night. Sometimes on some of the days we would come, we would find a little after midnight a clear apparition that left no room for doubt. Clearly in the form of the Virgin Mary, the color of the clothes was completely clear, light blue like the sky. Many things were very clear. She would bless the people in this way, standing and sometimes moving slightly. Sometimes she would stand for a long time, and of course people would sit and sing many hymns and praises until morning. During the Virgin Mary's apparitions, sometimes miracles would happen while she was present, and sometimes when she wasn't, because her blessing lasted a long time, perhaps more than years, and still has a blessing in this place from the time of her apparition until, God willing, the end of time. Among the things we noticed very well and saw the miracle happening as it occurred, there was a man known to have his hands like this, his back bent and his legs the same, standing awkwardly, and he wasn't very good at speaking. He was a simple, poor man known to us. He would always stand in front of the church door. And one day, exactly at 7 in the evening, I was standing at the church door with many people. I was surprised to see this man standing, holding his crutches like this. And he did this. I looked and saw him raising his head like this. The Virgin wasn't visible. The time was, and he straightened his back. His hand began to heal. He started to straighten his hands like this. Then he began to extend his hands like this. His legs began to straighten. All this was happening. Then he threw away his crutches. I looked and saw him running around the church, circling it. Of course, we were all in awe of this man who experienced this beautiful thing, in awe. And we sat, the people saw him, and the people knew him very well, so they began to sing hymns and praises to the Virgin again. But later at night, a woman came from Asyut, and her right hand was paralyzed, and she held it like this, hanging at the time of the Virgin's apparition. Around 1 o'clock, something like 12:30. I looked and found her standing next to me. I saw the lady move her hands like this. She started moving her hands like this. She started doing this, moved, and became perfectly fine. And of course, she told the people to ululate, and they did, because not everyone knew she was paralyzed. Only the people who came with her from Asyut. These are things we saw with our own eyes, even sometimes during exorcisms. We looked and found there was a priest who would come at night, sometimes before the Virgin's appearance and sometimes during it. This priest was not known to have any connection with exorcisms, but we were surprised that he was given this gift, and the demons would leave very easily without any effort. The same priest was astonished, and these things would happen in front of us, and we saw them ourselves. Of course, during her appearance, people started coming to the church in a very remarkable way. They began to learn many hymns and chants because they stayed up all night. They learned to connect with the church. Even non-Christians would come to see the Virgin. And some of them experienced miracles. It was broadcast on Egyptian television at that time. They reported these miracles in many newspapers. Not only national ones, but some state newspapers also reported some miracles and things about the appearance, because it was something that couldn't be hidden. No one could hide it. The church started receiving many people, and the Mass became a daily event with meetings every day. But of course, they couldn't hold daily sermons inside the church because the place was extremely crowded, so they broadcast some sermons over the microphones as much as they could. And people loved to listen to the sermons and the melodies, responding to the hymns. All this happened in the morning. This continued for more than a year. Almost more than a year. People continued to be present. The church began to get crowded. Naturally, people started entering the garage. So the Public Transport Authority couldn't resist the people because there was a very strong influx of people. So the church offered to buy the garage at that time. And indeed, they bought the garage. And it became part of the church. That garage had a small villa. The church would fill the garage in front of it, the street, the surrounding streets, and the same land of the neighboring church inside and outside the church. People would enter and attend. And sometimes they would see pigeons that were not natural. It's known that natural pigeons flap their wings. But these pigeons appeared in a strange way. We actually saw them come like this without flapping their wings or anything. A group of pigeons would pass and sometimes return. Sometimes they would go in one direction and not return. And during the celebration of her appearance, His Holiness Pope Shenouda would attend. On the 2nd of April, once we found a group of pigeons while the Pope was present in the area. A group of pigeons passed by, and everyone present smelled incense. We were all surprised, wondering where the incense came from. We could smell it, but we didn't know where it came from. The doves would come and the incense would arrive, and we would smell its fragrance. The atmosphere was truly wonderful. The church began to take on a spiritual character when they used the garage they acquired to start Sunday school classes. We started using the garage's land as a club in the summer where the children could relax and play after church. It was a place where many of our children gathered. Many meetings began to be held parallel to the church because the church was small and well known. So this new building also accommodated another group of meetings. Sometimes it hosted servants' meetings, sometimes youth meetings, and in the summer, the courtyard was used for many activities and meetings, especially as the club gathered a large number of our children. They had nowhere else to go, especially during the summer days. After a while, the character of Zeitoun began to change. Tanbeza Street was mostly villas, but when the crowd came to the church, many people started selling their villas and converting them into buildings. Now, Zeitoun is full of buildings and more buildings. For instance, one of the villas on Sinan Street was sold. I remember it was a villa inhabited by a single family, even when the family was traveling. This villa was sold and converted into more than 8 buildings, with a street in the middle, next to the Wireless Education Building. The Wireless Institute was inhabited by a man named Joseph. So all these buildings were inhabited by people, and there was a need for a church larger than the Church of the Virgin Mary. His Holiness Pope Shenouda graciously built the cathedral in the church of Zeitoun, and God facilitated the acquisition of the surrounding area, creating wonderful developments and activities that satisfy the youth and are continuously needed by the people. Of course, if we talk about the Church of the Virgin Mary in the past, during the time of the Virgin's apparition, I remember having 1,000 children in the primary school register. I believe today those numbers were from when the street was still villas. 1,000 children, and now how many are there? That's why God blesses the existing places, and the church has started to make the best use of them. Hopefully every year the activities increase, especially since new residents come, some not originally from Zeitoun, but they come for the blessing of the Virgin's apparition in this place. Many people come because they feel the blessing, so they regularly attend masses, meetings, and all church activities. Today, when one visits the Church of Zeitoun, they find it buzzing like a beehive day and night, with numerous meetings and enormous activities. Sunday school classes have, of course, multiplied many times over. Youth meetings have become very large. Initially, they were in the small church, but now the church is big. And sometimes, even with effort, when there's a large meeting or conference, the big church sometimes cannot accommodate the huge number of youths. We thank God for this, as the service is always growing everywhere. But the Church of the Virgin Mary in Zeitoun is renowned worldwide. Wherever we go, people know that the Virgin appeared in Zeitoun at a certain time, stayed for a certain period, and did many, many things. There is no doubt that the appearance of the Virgin Mary brought about a radical change in the spiritual and architectural activity of the church and its surroundings. Many people have moved to the nearby areas, and those who have settled there regularly attend church meetings and activities. This means they might need another cathedral or something, God willing, but the activity is always increasing. It is known that the era of our Pope is an era of construction. In terms of building development, in terms of meetings and the people involved in activities, and in terms of the diversity of activities. In the past, we didn't have this diversity. We barely had Sunday schools, and that was it. Now there are so many activities because the era is always full and enriching. So a young person can go and find everything they need there. Those who want scouting will find it. Those who want football will find it. Those who want theater will find it. Those who want hymns will find it. Those who want computers will find it. Those who want the internet will find it. Those who want to serve the sick will find it. Those who want to serve the elderly will find it. All kinds of services can be found in the church. There is no doubt that we thank God and our Pope for this Renaissance, as he is the instigator of the new revival in the Coptic Church. Frankly, many churches have started to change from the Coptic Church's revival to the extent that when foreigners visit us, they say they want to learn from us how our church is always youthful and full of youthful energy. When they enter the church, they even find that the Mass has a large number of children and young people, of course, in addition to the older people who attend the Sunday school activities and the youth meeting, filling the church, and so on. It is certainly joyful, and there is no doubt that this is also one of the fruits of the Virgin Mary's appearance in her church in Zeitoun. May God grant a blessing to the area and to the people, the blessing of the Virgin Mary, the blessing of our Pope, and the blessing of the activity present in this area and in every area. And hopefully anyone who has an idea for another activity or a fruitful meeting. The Church will surely respond and implement what it finds beneficial for everyone. May God bless these matters with the appearance of the Virgin Mary, and who knows, she might appear again. And in any case, her blessing is present, even if she does not appear again.